I want to bring in our guests on this special broadcast. Apart from the three experts in the studio, Dr. Tara Kartha, former director of the National Security Council Secretariat, also joins us. But Jen Kulkarni, I want to begin by asking you, sir. You were there during the 1965 war and the 1971 war. Are we in 2025 building to see that there could be this kind of retaliation if will war happen?
Gaurav, thank you very much. I think there are none better experienced than you. You've seen it for yourself, what happens when the air sirens go. Because there are some pre-air raid sirens, then just before the air raid, and then once the air raid is over. I've seen it, experienced it in 65, experienced it in 71, how we would make trenches, and if the siren was blown, how we would get into the trenches. If we couldn't get into the trenches, how we would lie down on the floor. In fact, absolutely. There were times when blackouts would be there, how we would use carbon papers that were there with us on window panes so that no lights could go out. There were people patrolling the cities to ensure that no one's house had any light. Street lights off, street sirens are blown. Now, you will find the traffic will just get onto one side. If you're closer to the metro station, get into the subways, save yourself. There are flyovers. There are so many flyovers. Under the flyovers, there's a lot of space available. You utilize those, this thing. Now, some of the high-rise buildings have basements where you have car parkings done. You can utilize those to be able to get in. High-rise buildings also have, for fire, sirens. So I'm sure that coordination would be done so that they also blow their sirens so that people over the building know how to take cover.
Sandeep, that coordination is very important, and you yourself have been in the line of fire in Israel. So training is, even if it's that one-time training or two times training, that training could be that crucial factor between life and death, or God forbid, you lose a limb or your life if you're not trained.
Absolutely, Gaurav. Firstly, thanks for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be back. And you know, what happened in Israel was a population that was completely militarily trained. They were ready for this. So when Hezbollah fired that ballistic missile at the hotel that I was staying in, Tel Aviv, I could see the Israeli civilians literally picking up their belongings and rushing to their shelters, their bomb shelters. So I decided to follow them because they had militarily trained. I wasn't. And I could tell how quickly they had responded. In under a minute, they were all in their shelters. They were there in this safe spaces inside the hotel. And once the missile had been successfully intercepted by the Iron Dome interceptors, they were all back out in the open, and life continued as normal. So what I see happening here in India is you're looking at a population that has not seen this kind of conflict in half a century.
True.
So you're inoculating that population, you're preparing them for the worst. That there is a possibility that Pakistan, in some firmament of imagination, they could actually come back and try and target population centers like they did in the past. And this is to prepare our population for some eventuality like that, if, God forbid, it comes to that.
Because each time in the past, we've been caught off guard. Each time in the past, we were in that Aman Ki Asha mode when the Pakistanis were bleeding us, and they've bled our civilians more than they've bled our soldiers. So, Captain D.K. Sharma, Israel has the benefit of the Iron Dome system that in case the enemy fires a barrage of rockets and missiles, Israel fires its own missiles and interceptors for the benefit of our viewers, and Israeli missiles intercept the incoming missiles. At the same time, some of those interceptions could be very close to built-up areas, and there could be loss of life and limb even in that. But do we have any protection? We will know. I presume we would know when the Pakistanis fire a missile. What kind of protection system do we have for military protection?
Okay, good evening, Gaurav, and good evening to all your viewers. Thanks for calling me. First of all, I must assure my countrymen that our defenses are impregnable. We have everything, whatever is required to neutralize the incoming threat. And we know what is the axis of it. Of course, that frontage is too big, but so are we well prepared insofar our air defenses are concerned, insofar our Indian Air Force is concerned, insofar the Navy and the Army is concerned. Now, when you're talking about a missile taking off from there are many indicators to it, many indicators to it the moment a missile is fired. So it will first break the horizon,
Yeah.
It will start coming up, whether it is a sea skimmer or whether it is, flying at 5 meters, 10 meters. It has to have terrain mapping and start moving. So at all the crucial places from wherever we know the launch pads are,
Yeah.
you see, we know where the source is.
Yeah.
So for that, we have already, mapped that what all routes it can take. And it is being sent to a particular VAVP, vital installation, or a point, or maybe a refinery, or an ammunition dump, or the center of power, Delhi. So it is fortified. And it is fortified in layers.
Okay.
So it might happen that somebody else has missed it, but the next man will get it. And we have radars, we have satellites, we have aircraft which are now moving up, as you know it.
Yeah.
So the space awareness, the domain awareness is very high, and it will be maintained. So it is not that we will be surprised. Yes, once they take any action, then you will see the reaction. But I can tell you, all these things are in place, and we are well prepared, well exercised, and looking out for it.
I want our viewers to know that when the Pakistanis fire a missile, we will know the moment that missile has been fired. And in 21st century, Sandeep, and before I bring in Dr. Tarakartha, in the 21st century, the moment that missile is fired, we know the trajectory. We know where it's going to hit.
Yes.
So that missile, a counter missile can go and neutralize that. We have aircraft that can fire missiles that can take it down. There are multiple ways of taking that missile down. But how much time do we have from fire to hit?
It's a matter of minutes, Gaurav, really. And it entirely depends on the kind of missile that Pakistan chooses to fire at
Sure.
us. If it's a long-range ballistic missile, for instance, fired at a distant target in India, then we would have a little more time. Because the minute the missile is launched, we will have picked up that, our radars would have picked up that missile launch, because this is a capability that we have built for our nuclear weapons alertness, so that we could counter their nuclear tipped missiles. Now, this capability will come in handy in a situation like this. If a missile were to be launched, it would be picked up immediately, and the alerts would be flashed across the country. It would go to all of the cities, and they would predict the trajectory of that missile and deduce where it would actually impact, which city or which VA or VP or which missile base it is going to target. All of that calculations will be done by the Indian Air Force, which is actually the nodal agency for air defense, and BMD, which is why they have the S-400 missile systems. And those missile systems, they've already been deployed, and they have extremely powerful long-range radars and, of course, missile interceptors that can knock down those missiles before they reach those targets that they intend to hit.
There's another aspect. The moment the Pakistanis launch a missile, the point from which that missile has been launched would be taken down immediately. What is extremely significant, when we were covering the Kargil war in 1999, we did not have those weapon locating radars, the American ANTPQ-37s that India so desperately wanted. Unfortunately, because of bureaucratic delays, the Pokhran tests, a lot of other reasons, we did not have the ANTPQ-37s, which are the weapon locating radars. The moment an artillery shell is fired, the weapon locating radar triangulates that location and tells you where that RT shell has come from, and you can launch what is known as CB or counter bombardment and destroy that location. And that is why you have the fire, forget, shoot and scoot systems. You fire your rocket and you move from that place, so that when the counter bombardment comes, you are better prepared. And I'll come to General Kulkarni to respond on that in just a moment. But for the benefit of viewers who are joining us, what is that air raid siren like? What are drills that are extremely important that you must know about? You must familiarize yourself. Remember, being forewarned is being forearmed. In the Indian Air Force, as all my guests will tell me, their motto is, the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war. So you sweat now. You learn these drills now. Remember what Arjun used to do. Arjun used to fire his bow and arrow each time. He used to practice so much that in war he was perfect and the best. That's exactly what we as Indians need to do. Prepare ourselves very well, so that the moment you hear the air raid siren, you can go to safety. It becomes your second nature. Not only should you go yourself, take the elderly with you. Take the children with you. guide them. Do not panic. It's very essential. The less you panic, the more calm you remain, the better leader you emerge in these situations. The long wail, what is that long wail all about? What's the short burst all about? So that long wail of that siren, when you hear that long siren, and we'll just play that out for you in a moment, that long wail of the siren is to tell you, beware, there's threat incoming. The short burst is like an all clear, now that's been intercepted. What do you need to do? You should identify the nearest location where you need to go. Whichever is the nearest metro station, for example, if that has a bunker, an underground, go there. If there's a building with a basement, go there. Those are safe areas. In Israel, of course, they've built bunkers, concrete bunkers on the side of the road every couple of 100 meters in some locations and every couple of kilometers in others. So you head to that nearest, perhaps the government should also do signposting where you can head. I'm told there's an app that is coming up. You will get that information shortly. That app will tell you the nearest location where you should go.